You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast, season 3, episode 72, Cubs combined no-hitter. Don't forget to listen, download, review. Most importantly, subscribe to the podcast. Follow on all the socials, Fly the W670 on Twitter, Instagram, Fly the W on Facebook, or email us at flythew670@gmail.com. Well, Crawly, we were both wrong. I said the Cubs were going to sweep the Pirates. You said the Cubs were going to take 2 of 3 from the Pirates. Unfortunately, the Pirates go on to take the first 2 games until last night, a combined no-hitter.
So, Dustin, I'm going to tell you the truth here. I had tickets for Wednesday night's no-hitter game.
Ooh. You hear me talking about people about not showing up to that game last night? How do you not go? That place looked empty on television. How do you not go to a Shota Imanaga game?
So, my friend Stuart McVicker, Club 400, he asked me to help him out with a big announcement that we're going to be talking about in this podcast at a future date. It's very exciting for the 10-year anniversary. We're having a big party on September 28th, but he rented out a studio, and I got there at 5 p.m. I figured I'd have plenty of time for a 6:40 start. We didn't get out of there till 9 o'clock. So I missed the no-hitter.
Were you guys at least paying? I'm sure you guys were paying attention, right?
So we're sitting there and we're recording this thing, and Stu leans over to me and he says, "Crawly, don't be mad at me. There's a no-hitter." And it was about the 6th inning, and I'm like, "Okay, well, we'll see what happens." And I think I'm probably one of the few people that I had tickets to 2 different Cubs no-hitters, and I missed both of them. I had tickets for the Carlos Zambrano in Milwaukee. And
okay. Yeah.
And at the last minute, my grandmother was leaving and we had a dinner and I couldn't blow it off. So I said, "Oh, I'll just sell the tickets. No big deal. Guy has a no-hitter." And then all of a sudden, again, last night, just things came up last minute and I missed the first no-hitter since 1972. So, hey, how about it, Cub fans?
Yeah. Well, if you got to wait another 52 years, unfortunately, this podcast will be long gone and you and I will be, long gone 52 years from now. So it's going to be another 52. But how about this? How about the fact I saw a tweet out there that the Cubs have only been no-hit 1 time at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, and it was Cole Hamels, his former Cub player. Yeah,
right. Not too long ago. But I thought that was interesting that was only time. So the Cubs have actually, even though it's been 52 years, they've been out hit less. So I thought that was very interesting.
Now, Ken Holtzman, who passed away this year, he had 2. Bert Hooton, you're talking about Milt Pappas, just all sorts of great Cubs players. And it was just an amazing night at Wrigley Field. Unfortunately, the first 2 games were pretty forgettable.
Yeah, the first 2 games were pretty forgettable, but we do that each week. So let's walk everybody through it. Jamison Tyone took the ball, did his job for the most part.
Yeah, Jamison Tyone versus Jared Jones. No base runners in the first 2 innings, but in the third, Jared Triolo singled on a ground ball to left. Tyone got the next 2 outs, but then Nick Gonzalez hits one to Isaac Paredes. He throws the ball away. Now you have runners at second and third for the Pirates' most dangerous hitter, Brian Reynolds. Luckily, Tyone was able to get him to ground out and get out of the jam. He would not be, Brian Reynolds would come back later. But, man, the Cubs got on the board first in the bottom of the third. Dansby hit a leadoff home run in his 13th. Cubs take a 1-0 lead. Cubs are going to add more in the bottom of the 5th with 1 out. Dansby Swanson singles. PCA is hit by a pitch. Miguel Amaya grounds one to shortstop Aquila Williams, but it looks like it should be an easy 6-4-3 double play, but PCA is tearing it up. He beats the throw to second, and the Pirates have to settle for only 1 out. Now you got runners at second and third with 2 outs. Ian Happ triples down the right field line. Both runners score, and the Cubs increase their lead to 3-1. Unfortunately, Rowdy Tellez robs Michael Busch of an RBI single with a nice play to end the inning. But, Dustin, we've talked about PCA's speed just being just such an X factor. Again, anyone else, the double play, inning over. Instead, the Cubs get 2 more runs out of it.
Yeah, pretty amazing. He has been really, really good. Hopefully he can stay on this good streak as the season heads into its final month.
Now, Michael Busch would get a little revenge in the 7th. Rowdy Tellez would lead off with a single, advance to second on a ground out. Jared Triolo hits one, And Bush makes an unbelievable sprawling play, throws it to J-Mo covering the bag for the second out, saves a run. J-Mo would get Henry Davis to pop out to end the inning and leave Tellez stranded at third. So nice defense by Michael Bush. Nico is going to lead off the bottom of the seventh with the double, but the Cubs could not get him in as Dansby flied out, PCA struck out, and Amaya grounded out. That would prove to be big. And Jamison Tyone, like you said, he did his job. He pitched a gem, 7 shutout innings, gave up no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 3 Ks. He snapped a streak of allowing at least 4 runs in 4 straight starts since August 9th. So a really good turnaround. He was in line for the victory, but Counsell went to the pen in the 8th, even though Tyone was dealing and had only thrown 89 pitches. Dustin, I was just wondering, were you upset at Counsell taking him out at that point?
Not upset, but I mean, based on the results, sure, right? But I mean, I have to admit, Lopez has been doing pretty well ahead of this point. But here's the problem I have with Counsell, right? And we heard this with his interview this week with the Scores afternoon show. And Jed with Mully and Haw backing this up. Everything is about the future and conserving and making sure people are ready. You got to get there first. So, great. They're healthy to play golf, to go on vacation, to drop their kids off to school. Like, you got to get to the important games in order to be healthy for them. So if you're not getting to those games, what difference does it make if you're worn out or not? Now, I know last year, and maybe the reason that David Ross got fired was that everybody was burnt out. But guess what? The Cubs were this close to being in the postseason last year. And guess what? Right now, they're this close if you're watching on YouTube, right? It's not as close. They were closer last year.
Right. First out of the pen, like you mentioned, was Jorge Lopez. And, there was some bad luck here. The first batter he faces, Isaiah Kinfer-Falefa hits a weak duck snort that finds grass in the outfield.
Crawly. That's baseball.
Yep. Next batter, Nick Gonzalez hits a weak roller up the third base line for an infield single. So you got runners at first and second. No one's hit the ball harder than 50 miles per hour. No outs. Brian Reynolds, we talked about him before, the Pirates' best hitter up to bat. He hits a 3-run blast to center field. The game is tied. 1 out later, Andrew McCutchen, who has always hit well at Wrigley, I don't care how old he is, he hits a solo home run to left, and the Pirates take a 4-3 lead. Only down 1 run going into the 9th. Cubs needed to, just keep it a 1-run game, but that doesn't happen. Sean Armstrong comes into the game and walks the first batter. He faces Jared Triolo. Pirates played some small ball in this series. Henry Davis sacked bunt to move Triolo to second. Isaiah Kinfer-Falefa grounded out for the second out, but Nick Gonzalez had a single to right. Triolo to third. He makes it to third on a throwing error by Cody Bellinger. But really, it was more of a mistake on Armstrong for not covering behind home plate, right? And that allowed Gonzalez to get to third. So some sloppy play there. The Cubs are going to go down quietly in the 9th, and their 6-game win streak was snapped. It was just a stunning loss. And Dustin, for me, with J-Mo, he is, they kind of know little signs when they're starting to run out of gas, right? And this was going to be the 4th time through the order.
Right. And that's a lot. And listen, that's a lot. There's no doubt about it. That's a lot.
Right. And when you talk about Jorge Lopez, Megan Montemoro of the Tribune pointed this out, that Lopez had the 5th lowest ERA and the 4th best left on base percentage among relievers since he debuted for the Cubs on June 28th. He only allowed 1 home run against 93 batters in 23 2/3 inning. He just didn't have it that night. And unfortunately, Dustin, it comes at the worst possible time.
Worst timing. Yep. Absolute worst timing.
And, you sit there, and that was the first time the Cubs gave up a 3-0 lead in the 8th inning since, do you remember?
I don't.
Game 6 of the 2003
Jeez Louise, really?
NLCS. Yes.
Wow.
And so I'm sitting there.
That was a bad situation too. Thanks for bringing it back up.
Yeah, I thought we would make this as painful as humanly possible. That's Optistat. So, yeah, first time the Cubs were up 3-0 or better in the 8th or later at Wrigley Field to blow the lead all in 1 inning and lose it since Game 6 of the 2003 NLCS against the Marlins.
Gosh, that seems like a lifetime ago. Honest to God.
And Dustin, why don't I just kick everyone in the nuts one more time?
Thanks.
After the game, it was announced that Justin Steele would not be starting because of left elbow soreness. Now, I know that it was Jed Hoyer was on 670 the score. And here's what Jed had to say.
It was his last start that you noticed something, right? Is that, and you're saying that you knew going into...
I'm saying what I was making a point that we obviously knew going into the game that he was going to be scratched.
Okay.
And so knowing that we were going to scratch him for today and knowing that, obviously the results of the game, David's right. It was certainly it was a restless night knowing those two things had occurred.
So what Molly was talking about, and we talked about it on the podcast last time.
Yes, we did.
On his last start, they came out and checked on him and Steele was like, no, I'm good. Finishes the fifth, qualifies for the win. And we never heard anything about it. And then right after that crushing defeat, we find out that Steele's not going to be pitching the next day. And it's going to be Kyle Hendricks.
Right. Then they claimed though that he felt something during his bullpen day in Washington. That's when he started making a comment about it. But I mean, we still have to wait and see. We're going to talk about that later. But Kyle Hendricks, Paul Skeens, you think absolutely no way, no how, no chance do the Cubs win this game. And Kyle Hendricks pitched his rear end off.
Yeah, he really did. They called on him. They needed him, and he put them in a position to at least win it. And the offense just couldn't get the big hit. The last time Hendricks faced the Pirates a week ago, he gave up 6 runs on 8 hits in a 1 2/3 inning. Much better result this time. And Paul Skeens didn't look like his normal dominant self. And the Cubs offense just couldn't cash it in. Bottom of the first, 2 outs. Seiya Suzuki singled, stole second. Cody Bellinger and Isaac Paredes both drew walks to load the bases with 2 outs. Nico grounds out to end the threat. Pirates also loaded the bases off Hendricks in the top of the second with 2 outs. Hendricks gets Jared Triolo to ground out to end the threat. Then the Cubs load the bases again with 2 outs in the second inning, thanks to Dansby Swanson and Christian Bethancourt singles and a walk by Michael Busch. Seiya Suzuki gets fooled on a slider. He grounds out, and the Cubs leave the badge loaded again for a second time. The Pirates got to Hendricks in the third inning. Isaiah Kinfer, Falefa, and Brian Reynolds hit back-to-back singles to lead off the inning. O'Neill Cruz grounded into a force out. Reynolds out at second. Runners at the corners with 1 out. Cruz would steal second, and then Andrew McCutcheon hits a sac fly to put the Buccos up 1-0. O'Neill Cruz moved to third with 2 outs. Rowdy Tellez would hit a 2-out RBI single to put the Buccos up 2-0. That was all the damage Hendricks would give up. Go 5 innings, 2 runs on 5 hits, 1 walk, 5 Ks. We've talked about this plenty when Kyle's had this kind of line. You take that every day of the week at this point in his career.
All the time. He really pitched his rear end off. Really happy for him. And most guys, Crawly, would not have been able to handle all the noise. And that's what's so great about him. And that's why the nickname Professor fits so well.
Now, it looked like the Cubs might get to Skeens in the 5th inning. Seiya Suzuki hit one, and I thought off the bat, that ball's going out. But the wind knocked it down enough that Brian Reynolds would catch it at the wall. Cody Bellinger and Isaac Paredes would fly out to end the inning. But Paul Skeens did not have his best stuff. He was able to make the pitches when it mattered most. The Cubs had Skeens on the rope in the first 3 innings, leaving the bases loaded in the first and second innings and having runners at first and second in the third. But Dustin, that's not out of the normal. Teams are hitting just 147 with runners in scoring position against Skeen. He went 5 scoreless and gave up 4 hits, 4 walks with 6 Ks.
But so you figured if that was what we talked about this, we said, and this is what happened last time. If you can get to the Pirates bullpen, you got a chance. The Cubs would manage 1 more hit throughout the whole rest of the game, Crawly. What the heck is going on?
Right. 27th ranked pen in baseball. Holderman, Miodowski, and Bednar combined 4 innings of work, 1 hit, no walks, and 4 Ks. For the second night in a row, one of the Cubs' top relievers had an off night. On Monday, it was Jorge Lopez. On Tuesday night, it was Tyson Miller, who's been really good for the Cubs. Down 2-0 in the top of the 7th. Miller gave up a single to Nick Gonzalez. He walks Conrad Joe. And then Yasmani Grandal hit a sac bunt, but it didn't matter as the number 9 hitter, Jared Triolo, I think he's starting to become one of those Cubs killers, hits a 3-run homer into the basket. The basket giveth, the basket taketh away. Now it's a 5-0 game, and the Pirates were able to use their low-leverage bullpen arms the rest of the game.
Yep.
Dustin, the Cubs were shut out for the 9th time at home this season compared to only 4 times on the road. They only had 5 hits and 4 walks, 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position. They left 9 men on base. They only had 1 base runner after the 3rd inning. Nico and PCA, two of the Cubs' hottest hitters, went to combine 0 for 8. Nico's 9-game hitting streak snapped, and Michael Busch and Isaac Paredes were 0 for 6 with each hitter drawing 1 walk. So pretty much a bad game for everybody.
Yeah, that was one that you, as some would like to say, you like to flush, put it out into Lake Michigan. So that brings us to the game that you just told us about that you had tickets to, Shota Imanaga. So you needed I call this a must-win statement game on the air. This was a must-win statement game for the Cubs, and boy, they didn't just deliver on pitching, but they delivered at the plate as well. And those guys you just talked about that went 0 for 10 had a heck of a night.
Yeah, with morale low and Cubs in danger of being swept, 2 Cubs landed on the IL before the game. So, they're falling back further in the wild card standings. Shota takes them out, like you said, has to be a statement start. Domingo Germán started in what was a planned bullpen game for the Pirates. First inning, another error at third by Isaac Paredes, but Shota's able to work around it. Luckily, Shota got Nick Gonzalez to ground into a double play to end the inning. The Cubs offense got cooking in the bottom of the first. Ian Happ hits a single on the first pitch he saw. Michael Busch drew a walk and then Seiya singled to left. Brian Reynolds misplayed it. A run scores and Busch moves to third and Seiya to second on an error on Reynolds. No outs. Cubs up 1-0. Unfortunately, Wavin' Willie Harris sends Michael Busch on a shallow fly to right. Busch is thrown out for the old 9-2 double play for those of you scoring at home. And then Isaac Paredes grounded out to end the threat.
What was that send? What was that send? That was awful send. Awful.
Bad send. Wavin' Willie.
And the only bad thing about a win in this game is, Crawly, is that the reporters never have the chance to ask that question.
Right. If that would
because at that point it doesn't matter. But you lose that game 3-2, 5-3, or something like that, and all of a sudden you're like, what in the wide world of sports was that?
Right. And so when you saw them blow that opportunity, second and third, and you're saying to yourself, oh, great, it's going to be one of those games, runners in scoring positions. Here we go. But no, Cubs add on in the second. Nico and Dansby single, PCA doubles to make it 2-0. And Ian Happ single scores 2 more runs to double the lead to 4-0. Bottom of the third, 1 on 2 outs for Dansby Swanson, who homers. And then the next batter, PCA, back-to-back jacks. Cubs are up 7-0. Cubs don't score in the fourth, but in the fifth inning, went out. Isaac Paredes hit by a pitch. Nico singles, and Dansby Swanson drives a double off the glove of Jared Triolo. PCA would follow that up with a single to score another run. Cubs scored 9 times.
9 times.
Bottom of the 6th, Cody Bellinger hits a solo shot. In the bottom of the 8th, who else, Dustin, but Miles Mastroboni singles in the run. And at this point, the Cubs have a 12-0 lead.
Everybody had to get involved. Everybody had to be involved.
12 runs on 17 hits. Dansby Swanson, 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs. PCA, 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Nico Horner was 3 for 4, setting the table for those gentlemen. And Cody Bellinger and Ian Happ, 2 for 4 with 2 RBIs. Dustin, I'm going to throw out this date. I'm going to ask you if it rings a bell. April 21st, 2016. Anything?
No.
That was the date that Jake Arrieta threw his second no-hitter. It was in 2016. The first one was 2015 against the Dodgers. This was against the Reds, and the Cubs won the game 16-0 because there was so much offense in that game. People didn't realize Jake was tossing a no-no. You're just all excited about the home runs and everybody's running around. I thought it was the same thing with Shota's start, right? After the first inning, that error on Paredes, Shota had a rough second inning. He walked 2 batters. He threw over 20 pitches. So Tommy Hotovy comes out and gives him one of those pep talks, says, don't give up any more hits. And Imanaga says, all right? The only other base runner to reach was Nick Gonzalez on Isaac Paredes' second error of the game. Dustin, you had this clip here from the Mully and Haw show. Let's listen to Jed talk about the defense. That's 3 errors in the series for Paredes.
He made some good plays as well. I thought he started a really good double play that really helped us the other day. And I mean, he's made some good plays, but certainly you're right. He's made more errors than usual. And he's normally more sure-handed and error-free than he is, a rangy third baseman. But he normally makes all the plays, and I think that's probably part of it. I mean, I think that whenever you make a midseason trade, you're not exactly sure how that guy is going to react in that particular season. Some guys go to a new place and take off right away, like we saw Castellanos did for us that year, and some guys come in and struggle with a new environment. You just never know. And I do think that there's a natural inclination to press But I couldn't be more excited that we have him. I think he gives such a professional at bat in the middle of the lineup. I do think he's really sure-handed, and once he gets acclimated, I think he'll be a really steady third baseman for us. Like I said, he's not going to be well above average like a guy like Nico or Dansby, but I think he'll make all the plays. And I do think that just like.
So when you're talking here, you're just saying to yourself, okay, maybe he's a little bit nervous, maybe he's pressing, but I know he's a better defender than what he's shown so far.
Well, he's already made more errors than the guy they shipped out of town did in 70-something games.
Yeah. Yep. It's been a tough one to watch.
And they owe him a lot more money than they owed him. Right?
Well,
a lot more money.
More money. Yep, absolutely. But I truly believe we definitely have not seen the best of him. But, Shota kept continuing to deal. And the only problem was that second inning, he had thrown 95 pitches when he was done with the seventh inning, 6 out away from a complete game no-hitter.
So I'm saying if Paredes does his job, is Shota given the chance to get that thing?
Well, the one error he has gets the double play. I mean, I'm not sure about that.
Was that an error early on?
Well, when he scored with 2 errors, because the one
in the beginning of the game.
Okay,
right? Did you think that they everybody thought it was an error? Or I mean, everybody thought it was a hit. They changed it to an error.
Right. I mean, I'm just going to say that with Shota in his first year, and he's pitched more innings than he ever thrown before. No, I think they're going to be careful with him. They're not going to hurt him, especially after losing Justin Steele. Right?
No, I'm not aggravated that they did that. I'm not.
Right. Now, get this: Shota Imanaga did not know he had a no-hitter, and neither did the first guy out of the pen, Nate Pearson. He's jogging out of the bullpen, and everybody's booing the poor guy. He thinks it's because he's like, why are they booing me? And they figure out it's because Counsell pulled Imanaga, didn't give him a chance to go for it. So Pearson does his job. He gets 3 outs, and then it's on Porter Hodge, who would come into the game in the 9th, and he gets 3 ground balls, all to Dansby Swanson, one of the best defenders in the game. And the Cubs make history, Dustin. History. If you take a look, here's a picture. If you're watching the 670 Score, the YouTube channel, there you see Shota Imanaga, Miguel Amaya, Pearson, and Porter Hodge. Actually, Porter Hodge.
I love that they stood in order of height.
100. Yeah, absolutely hilarious. But, it was the first combined no-hitter at Wrigley and the first no-hitter since September 2nd in 1972 at Wrigley. 18th no-hitter in franchise history and the second combined no-hitter for the Cubs. Hopefully it goes better than the last one. That was in 2021. Do you remember the starter of that game? Zach Davies.
That's right.
Ryan Tepera, Andrew Chafin, and Kimbrel closed it out. So 4 guys. So I did buy a bobblehead today. They released it right away, combined no-hitter. So it's going to be coming. But Dustin, as I watched here, as amazing as that no-hitter is, and how could you be upset after watching a no-hitter? The Cubs lost 2 out of 3 out of the Pirates. I'm not mad at Hendricks versus Skeens, right? Even though that was the one.
I'm not mad. I'm just mad that the count. They're just, as a Cub fan, you're just running out of days at this point.
Yeah, it was the Monday night save that really stick with you. You know what I mean? I felt they had the first and the third game. They had that game all the way into the 8th inning, and you just didn't expect it. And hopefully, like I said, I'm hoping that again, this is now out of your hands. You need help from other teams, and you don't control your own destiny, and it's a frustrating place to be in. And you had a chance, and the Cubs, really struggled against the Pirates last year when they were spiraling out in September. So it's just frustrating that it happened for a second season in a row at Wrigley Field. And hopefully now you have to contend with the big boy teams coming up. And you really were, they were doing such a good job of taking series from these weaker teams. It's just rough that they couldn't do it at home.
Yeah, we were hoping that was going to be the case again. I thought they would sweep them. You thought 2 out of 3. We were both wrong, but I guess that's baseball. You are listening to the Fly the W670 podcast. It is season 3. It's episode 72. The Cubs combined no-hitter. Feel free to leave Crawly and I a 5-star review. You can also email us at flythew670@gmail.com. And don't forget, you can watch us, that's right, on the 670 The Score YouTube page. See all the stats and info and tweets that we'd like to put up there. In this segment, Crawly talks to Jake Bujnowski, host of the Dingers Baseball Podcast, to talk about his special relationship with Kerry Wood as Kid K enters the Cubs Hall of Fame officially this Sunday.
Join me now on the Fly the W podcast. I am glad to have on our good friend Jake Bujnowski. You know him from the Dingers Baseball Podcast. Jake, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, Crawly, man. I appreciate you having me on. It's good to talk some Cubs baseball and talk about Kerry being inducted into the Cubs Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it is just, I remember when all of a sudden they started kind of playing the scenes at Cubs convention and all of a sudden all the memories. And, the reason obviously that, it is so special for you is that your dad and Kerry had a relationship in a way that people may not realize it. Tell us a little bit about how your dad when you first started to hear about Kerry Wood and your dad's connection to Kerry Wood.
Yeah, man. Kerry has been kind of this interesting like baseline in my life, which is strange in the sense that I'm getting ahead of myself. So my dad was the 20K guy. So he had the red and blue broken bat K signs that now in an incredible turn of events are synonymous with Kerry's best game ever pitched. I mean, by all accounts, it's the greatest game ever pitched, despite it not being a no-hitter. It should have been, as my dad would be arguing if he were on right now. Should have been a no-hitter. But yeah, from then, so I was 4 years old, 4.5 years old when it happened. But from that point on, my dad just kept bringing the Ks out, and he sent some letters to Kerry through Kerry's agent, basically trying to figure out like, hey, how can we make this K thing a bigger deal? Can we loop in charity somehow? And unfortunately, before my dad passed, nothing ever happened. But for my entire life, Kerry Wood was kind of like a weird kind of throughway. So yeah, I mean, my dad was just a baseball fanatic, as you know, and kind of a prospect nerd before prospect nerds were like a mainstream thing to be, right? So he was all over Kerry. As soon as Kerry was drafted, he was following him through the pipeline and saw that this guy was going to be a stud. And it's one of those things where it had injuries not come into play. I think Kerry would have been a Hall of Famer, right? I think the stuff that he had, the dominance that he asserted on the mound. But hey, nonetheless, he influenced a lot of Cubs fans, including myself, to be bigger Cubs fans and baseball fans. And now he's being inducted to the Cubs Hall of Fame, which I think is fantastic. I think it's very well deserved.
And the thing I kind of think about is that people don't understand what Wrigley was like in 1998. I feel like Steve Stone now for all you youngsters out there. But whenever a prospect comes up, they literally have the jerseys printed in the stores at the Cubs store on Gallagher Way, and you can buy, PCA's jersey for the debut game and all this stuff. It wasn't like that then. It was a completely different ballpark, a completely different atmosphere. And a lot of it was kind of that do-it-yourself mentality. Guys pressing shirts and selling them on the streets. I mean, every street corner kind of had a vendor or something. And so, when I think about, you talk about the symbol, the icon of that K of that day. I mean, your dad brought a bunch of jerseys as well so that people would have something to wear for Kerry Wood.
Yeah. So it's funny. I talked to him later on, well after the fact, when I was more sentient and understood what happened that day. When my dad knew that he was bringing the Ks out for that day, he dug through the lost and found at Stevenson High School, where he coached baseball and football, and found some 34 jerseys. I think most of them were basketball jerseys, if not all of them. So I know you had Akeem Olajuwon, Shaquille O'Neal, and gosh, there's probably one more that I'm missing. But yeah, everybody, you see the pictures of the K's out in the bleachers, you see a 34 Lakers jersey. And my dad's whole thought was, you look at 34 throughout sports history, and there are a lot of phenomenal 34s throughout every sport. And my dad's idea was that Kerry Wood was going to be the next great 34. So that's why he had people wearing these jerseys out there. And it's a kind of funny little footnote in the history of that day.
And the funny thing that I laugh about too is that I can't remember how many K signs he brought. I think it was like 15.
It was 16. It was 16. And I'll actually, you give me a second to correct myself. When I was on the broadcast with Taylor McGregor for the 25th anniversary, I told her that there were only 16 ever made. I found out after the fact from our friend Brad Hoffvander, and my aunt confirmed it, that my dad did end up making 4 extras just in case a Cubs pitcher came out and threw 20 strikeouts again. But on May 6, 1998, my dad only had 16, so the last 4 infamously were body paint out in the bleachers on a rainy, cold May day, as all Chicagoans are well familiar with.
So for those that don't know, your dad, Tom, was my PE teacher at MacArthur Middle School. And I guess like some of my earliest memories, is that he would be so pumped up around game time, because back then when I was in middle school, like they had just gotten lights. It was like 88 when they got lights in August. So really none of there. So it's 89 really that I'm in middle school. And, most of the games were 120. And I mean, my God, he was pumped up and just roaming the halls like he would get so fired up and just be so pumped up about it. And so he just kind of had this infectious energy that made other Cub fans pumped up about it. And, as we have gotten to all these milestones, like the Kerry Wood, the 25 years and all that stuff, it's amazing that they found all this footage. And I've seen it in the Marquee documentary. I've seen it in other different forms of them actually seeing your dad. And I don't know if it was like cut or something, but like seeing him, pointing him out, spotlighting him as he's handing out things. Where did he bring body paint? How did those last 4 get on there? I mean, it's just such an interesting part of it.
Yeah, so my dad was a very outspoken guy, not afraid to talk to anybody. And that was one of the things that made it so fun to go to Cubs games with him in the bleachers. But on that particular day, he just sought out someone with body paint. And it's weird that, like, I feel like that's not really a thing nowadays, but I do kind of remember growing up, there were a lot more guys with no tarps on out in the left field bleachers growing up when I got to go out with my dad. But that particular day, yeah, he found somebody and someone happened to have red and blue body paint. So that's how I don't know, like if they just used their fingers to spread it on the top. I've never thought about that detail because they definitely didn't have paintbrushes. I don't know how they did it, but yeah. So he just, my dad was a very personable guy and could connect with anybody. So he was orchestrating the whole event, as you mentioned, Crawly. They found great footage of my dad like kind of walking through the bleachers. And that was a cool thing with the K signs that I got to experience from that point on. Him he didn't want to be the one to hold the K signs. He wanted other people to be able to experience that. That was the big thing for him, being kind of the patron of the Ks, I guess, if you for lack of a better term. So yeah, he just used his personality to go out there and find body paint, and lo and behold, he found some for the last 4 strikeouts.
And then the cool thing afterwards is I don't know if you've ever heard this story, but we had a principal, Mr. Ernstein, and your dad took a sick day on the day that Kerry Wood is.
I am well aware.
So yeah. he takes the sick day, and everyone's kind of trying to figure out who's the guy with the Ks. Well, your dad gets interviewed by Sports Illustrated. And
he was mentioned by name in Sports Illustrated. Yeah, it might have been the first paragraph that he was quoted.
and sure enough, the principal calls him down to the office, and he gets in trouble for playing hooky so that he could go see Kerry Wood's 20 Ks. But Jake, I mean, all Cub fans know, man, when you catch magic at a game, and I think that was what was on the documentary poster. It says, Pat Hughes had a quote from that documentary, like, you don't know on any given day. That's the thing about baseball. You may just kind of step into magic, and for your dad, it's just kind of like it morphed into the K for Kids program, and that was really interesting in and of itself as well.
Yeah, so the Case for Kids was an idea that my dad had when he was still with us. For those listening that don't know, my dad passed away in August of 2007, but 2 years before that, he But K's for Kids was an idea that he had. The idea essentially was kind of, my dad believed that baseball could be a kind of like a steward for kids that were kind of aimless. He thought that baseball and the stars in Major League Baseball could kind of present like a focal point for young kids to follow, idolize in a sense, right? So he wanted K's for Kids to be something that a charity to raise money to bring underprivileged kids in the Illinois, anywhere in Illinois, and I'm sure he had ideas to expand it beyond just the Chicago Cubs. But he wanted to find a way to bring kids who otherwise wouldn't be able to afford to go to a Major League Baseball game to go to Wrigley and experience the magic that is Wrigley Field, and maybe fall in love with a player that day. Unfortunately, like I said, it didn't get up off the ground until about a year after he passed away. And I think I already mentioned our friend Brad Hoffvander was the president of K's for Kids, a good friend of my dad's. He helped launch it along with my aunt and my dad's best friend from high school, Paul Harada. So the three of them, and my cousin Matt was the vice president of the charity, launched it in 2008. I think we ended up doing, oh my gosh, I think we did like 4 years maybe of outings, and each year was one outing. But one year, I want to say it was like 2010, Ryan Dempster sponsored an outing. So I wasn't able to make it for one reason or another. I can't remember, but Ryan Dempster took pictures with the kids in the grandstands. And that's what my dad wanted, was to get Cubs players involved. So, hey, if any of you Cubs players are listening to the podcast right now, we'd love to get it back up off the ground. Brad and I have been in talks about it. But yeah, K's for Kids was really just about getting kids exposed to the game of baseball, and not just the magic of Wrigley Field, but as you talked about, Crawly, Pat's quote, I mean, any given day, like we saw last night in the no-hitter against the Pirates. It feels like every game you watch, something that's never happened in baseball history before could happen that night, or that 120 start. And that's why we love the game, right? So that's what my dad tried to start with K's for Kids, and it's something that we've kind of got in the works to get back up off the ground again here soon.
One thing that always makes me laugh too is that I remember the scorecards, the K scorecards. And
yes.
My wife calls me a Cubs hoarder, because if something says Cubs on it, I will not throw it out, even if it's been like 25 years later. Like, I still have some of those. They used to be the K signs. They were smaller, but they had the score. You could keep score on the back of it when keeping score was a thing. And I guess that, with this weekend coming up, I'm just getting nostalgic a little bit, thinking about, how much fun all of that was. And just kind of, things change, man. Life moves on.
Yeah.
And you got Jumbotrons, and you got the park at Gallagher Way. And there's so many cool things that really are, amenities that are necessary, you would argue, with modern day ballparks. But just thinking about 1998, thinking about your dad, thinking about the K signs, it takes me back to sometimes, I guess, a simpler time when baseball was just a little bit different. And and the atmosphere in the bleachers, I remember it as crystal clear. And when you think about Kerry going into the Hall of Fame, I mean, that's got to just be, that connection that you guys will always share. That bond has just got to be so special for you to know that he's going to be going into the Cubs Hall of Fame. It's
really cool, man. I mean, it's kind of tough to put into words. I don't know if you know, I still haven't met Kerry. I think that at this point, it's kind of like, it's almost kind of like a funny thing, because people expect that I've met him a bunch of times. And at this point in the game, it's kind of like, oh no, it's kind of, maybe there's something kind of cool about the fact that I haven't met him yet. And there's this kind of mythology still to it, right? Now, if I were ever given the opportunity to meet Kerry, he's a guy like you and me. He's a guy. He's happened to be really good at throwing a baseball, right? And like I said earlier on, he pitched by statistically the greatest game ever pitched.
Bill James game score.
Yes, Bill James game score, exactly. I think the cool thing is, people still recognize the K when I bring the signs out to Wrigley, or if I'm in the Chicagoland area, because I live in Wisconsin now. But if I'm in the Chicagoland area and I'm wearing a K shirt, I'll get side glances, or people will recognize it. I've got the K tattooed on my right shoulder, and I love showing that off too. But I've just been there's a sense of gratitude that I have to my dad for as wild as the whole notion was, that he did it, right? That he went through with it, and for whatever reason on that given day, whether divine intervention or whatever you believe in, he took the signs out that day and for the first time, and it happened to make Major League Baseball history. So now it feels like every time I see, a hype video at the beginning of a season, the K's are shown along with Kerry's performance. And to be synonymous with that and to be affiliated with that in a way that I wasn't even consciously involved, is an honor. And to be able to continue to be the steward of my dad's idea and do whatever I can to help, preach the love of our beautiful game, is the best honor I could have as a Cubs fan, as a baseball fan. So now that Kerry's being inducted, it also, kind of simultaneously enshrines the K signs into the Cubs Hall of Fame in perpetuity. Let's not distract ourselves from the main point. Kerry is the reason that all of this has happened. He was a phenomenal talent, and by all means, a steward of the Chicago Cubs to this day, living in the Chicagoland area, being involved in Cubs charity work, the stadium at Lane Tech being in his charity name. Is that right? It's Lane Tech, right?
Yeah. I believe you're right.
So everything that Kerry has done is kind of in lockstep with what I think my dad would have done if he had been in Kerry's shoes. So I'm not saying that Kerry used my dad as an example or anything, but I think that my dad would be very proud, in kind of an abstract way, of all the work that Kerry has done for the Cubs in the game of baseball in Chicago. So to be a part of that is, like I've said for the third time now, an honor. And I'm grateful to be a small part of it and continue to carry my dad's legacy forward.
And when you talk about what your dad's goal was, the interesting thing is I went to the Kerry Wood Foundation. They had the Pitch In program, and it's exactly what you were talking about, helping underprivileged youth. So that connection still stays there. You mentioned the K shirt. Our listeners, if they want, they can buy the K shirt, which that's your design, your dad's design that you guys are using and selling shirts, right? Where can someone go to pick those up?
Yes, Crawly, thank you for plugging that. So right now you can go to jbujnowski.com/shop, and that is jbujnowski.com/shop. And I actually haven't announced this anywhere yet, but I feel like this is a great time to announce it. I will be launching a full brand I'm a graphic designer professionally, which I think kind of was influenced by my dad and the K sign. I will be launching a Cubs-centric brand called Broken Bat Supply Company. So if you're on Cubs Twitter, I will be announcing it there when we're still going through some trademark registration and all that kind of stuff. But if you follow me at baseball_Buj, I will be announcing when that goes live, and there will be more Cubs related shirts and K related shirts there. But I do have the original K shirts, and then I have reproductions. I took high resolution photos of 2 of the original K signs, one red and one blue, and have those available on white t-shirts as well. So thank you for plugging that. So whatever we can do to just keep the K alive. And eventually, like I said, I'd love to get K's for Kids back up off the ground and have some of the money from Broken Bat Supply Company go into that, or the Wood Family Foundation, or Jason Hayward's Academy. I'd love to get it tied into Cubs charity, something to give back to baseball in the Chicagoland area. So if anybody's listening has an idea, please reach out. We want to make sure that we're giving back to the people that my dad wanted the cause to go to, and kids learning to play the game of baseball.
And to follow you, you are at baseball_Buj, BUJ. And you also have a podcast, the Dingers Podcast, where you kind of talk about all your Cubs ruminations and all sorts of things that I think a lot of our listeners would like. Jake, I appreciate you. I know you're having a busy day today and taking a couple of minutes, but I couldn't think of anyone else better to have on with Kerry Wood going to the Cubs Hall of Fame.
Crawly, thanks for tapping me in, man. It's a pleasure to be on Fly the W. Hey, let's see if we can get the Cubs some wins down the stretch here. There's still, hey, it's not 0% chance at playoff odds yet, right? So as long as you say there's a chance, I'm in. I am in. But in the meantime, too, I'm looking forward to Sundays in Chicago as well. For anybody listening, I'm pointing my Bears hat. Thank you, Crawly. I appreciate this, man, and love what you do for the Cubs community.
I appreciate you, brother. You take care.
This is the Fly the W670 podcast, episode 72 of season number 3. The Cubs with a combined no-hitter. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Feel free, leave us a 5-star review. You can also watch us on the 670 The Score YouTube page and drop Crawly and I an email, flythew670@gmail.com. All right, Crawly, today as we're recording this is an off day, and the standings haven't changed a whole heck of a lot since the last time we got together.
Yep. Brewers in first place, Cubs 9 games behind them, the Cardinals 10 games behind, the Reds 14, and the Pirates 15. But there has been changes, Dustin, in the wild card. You can see the Padres are just rolling. They're 7-3. The Diamondbacks struggling a little bit, 5-5 in their last 10. They still got the second spot. The Braves are 6-4 in their last 10. But the Mets are the hottest team in baseball now. They are 8-2 on a 7-game winning streak. And so the Cubs fall to 4.5 games back. They started the series 3 games back. So you lost a game and a half in the standings. That's brutal.
Yeah, that is brutal. Yeah.
Last time we were here, the Cubs playoff odds.
We got this now. The playoff odds. Great.
Yeah, the Cubs playoff odds last time were at 6%, 6.7. They're now down to 1.7. So, that's
numbers. Who needs them, Crawly? Who needs those numbers? Let's ignore the numbers.
Now, Dustin, we're talking a little bit about the Cubs Hall of Fame weekend, and this is a crazy weekend because not only are they honoring Kerry Wood and Aramis Ramirez, it is the return of Anthony Rizzo for the first time since he was traded from the Cubs. And Yankee fans travel well. Cub fans are going to be excited about this Hall of Fame weekend. I'm just worried.
It's week 1 of the NFL season. The Bears are at home, and the hype hasn't been this big in years. It's a really bad idea on the Cubs to do all this at once. I know they don't control when Rizzo's coming back, but the Cubs Hall of Fame, that should have been like when they played the Jays at home about a month ago.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I wonder how much of it's going to be a New York crowd, much of it's going to be a Cubs crowd, because again, for season ticket holders, there's a way to make some money back. But I do have some information on the Cubs Hall of Fame right there. They're doing it the same way they've done it like they did last year. The September 6th game, the Friday game, is going to be dedicated to Aramis Ramirez. The September 7th game is going to be dedicated to Kerry Wood. And then both players will be honored at the September 8th game on Sunday.
All right, so that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for you non-numeral people, right? That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Okay.
Yes, sir. And so Aramis Friday.
So that makes it a little better. So it's just not on Sunday.
Right. No. Okay. And then what will happen is Ramirez and Wood will be presented on Sunday with their Cubs Hall of Fame jackets. All the Cubs Hall of Famers come out there. And there's going to be a ceremonial first pitch that they're going to throw. They're going to sing the stretch. And the first 10,000 arriving fans will receive pins upon entering, honoring both players. Those were really cool. I had them last year for Dunston and Grace. Fans will be able to view items from Ramirez and Wood's playing career at a pop-up exhibit located in the new Motorola Razor Room at Gallagher Way starting on Friday. Cubs Authentics usually just does a phenomenal job. Cubs Archives. Check it out. It's going to be really awesome, and it's going to be up all weekend. So I'm going to be at Wrigley all weekend. I'm not missing it for anything in the world. So hope to see some of you guys out there. It'll be fun.
All right, very cool. Now I'm good. That was good information. All right, a little bit on the injury front with the roster moves.
Yeah, 2 roster moves on Wednesday. They were both bad. First off, Jorge Lopez was put on a 15-day IL with a right groin strain. It's been bothering him lately, and unfortunately, it probably caused him to blow the save on Monday. Trey Winginter, who was claimed off waivers from the Red Sox after the trade deadline, was called up to take his place on the big club. Even worse, Justin Steele was also put on the 15-day IL on September 4th, retroactive to September 1st, with left flexor tendonitis. Steele was hoping to avoid the IL, but still had symptoms on Wednesday. The big guy, Jack Neely acquired in the Mark Leiter trade. Mark Leiter's coming up with the Yankees here, but he takes Justin's place. But, when they started talking about MRI and imaging and all this stuff, I'm like, he's not making the start. I knew it right away, and I knew he was going to have to make an IL. You can't be a pitcher down at this point in time.
No, we can't afford it. No. Mm-mm.
And I just.
But do you think he pitches again or not?
I think no.
Yeah, I do too. And I don't know why. I felt like Craig Counsell went out of his way that Justin Steele will pitch again this year. Why do that? Why do you have to put that out there?
No, it makes no sense. And again, you're not going to have this guy again, just like you're not going to do anything to injure Shota. You're not going to do anything to injure Justin Steele. If he's feeling something in his left elbow with 1 point, I know, we're Cub fans and we still believe, but if you're Jed Hoyer and you're looking at 1.6% odds to make the postseason, you're not going to blow out the guy's elbow for that. Sorry.
No. All right. Yankees are in town. I guess there's two ways to look at this, Crawly. They have been not doing so hot lately, the Yankees. And the great home run hitter, Mr. Judge, has not been red hot lately. So maybe, or that means they're going to be coming in ticked off and ready to roll. So it's really difficult to figure this one out.
Yeah, 2023 last year was not a good season for the Bronx Bombers. They finished in 4th place in the AL East with a record of 82-80. Get this, Dustin. That was their worst record since the 1982 season. 82-80. Think of the season that we're having here in Chicago as far as baseball is concerned. And for the Yankees, their worst season, 1982, over 45 years ago, and it was above 500, 82-80. That's unbelievable. They missed the postseason for the first time since 2016. The Cubs, though, last season did take 2 or 3 from the Yankees in the Bronx last season. Jamison Tyone pitched a gem. Garrett Cole was able to get the win in Game 2 for the Yankees. And then the Cubs won the rubber match 7-4. So the Yankees will not be settling for a slightly above 500 record. They made some big moves in the 2024 offseason. They said goodbye to starting pitchers Luis Severino and Michael King, and multi-positional player Isaiah Kinford-Falefa, who we just saw with the Pirates. But they added Alex Verdugo. They added former Cub Marcus Stroman. Remember, we never thought he was going to opt out. But the crown jewel of free agency, Juan Soto, they sign him. They trade for him. I apologize. And he has been everything the Yankees could have wanted and more. This guy is just a stud. Unbelievable. The Yankees have been battling the Orioles for supremacy of the AL East all season. At the trade deadline, they added Chaz Chisenhall and Mark Leiter Jr. Neither of those moves worked out really well for the Yanks. Mark Leiter's been struggling, and then Chaz Chisenhall.
Well, Chisholm started out. He started great for them, but
then he had some injury thing, and then he wasn't going to come back, and there was some confusion. He's back right now. The Yankees are in second place in the AL East with a record of 80-60, half a game behind the Orioles. They just finished up a series with the Texas Rangers, dropping 2 of 3. And Dustin, I think the reason you say they're pissed off, they won Game 1, 8-4 behind a solid Garrett Cole start, but they lost the second game 7-4. They were up 4-3 in the 9th, 1 out. Yep. Wyatt Langford hits a dramatic grand slam to give the Rangers the walk-off win. The Yankees dropped the rubber match 10-6. Dustin, have you heard about the grimace, how the Mets went on a roll after Grimace threw out the...
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Did you hear this about Aaron Judge and Paw Patrol?
No.
So Paw Patrol, if any of our listeners have little tiny kids, Paw Patrol is this show, and Aaron Judge shows up on Paw Patrol. And since that day, people, you know how baseball people are, since that day, he's been an absolute train wreck. He was having, without a doubt, probably a MVP caliber season. Since appearing on Paw Patrol, he's slashing 159, 284, 245, 2 RBIs, 3 runs. He is absolutely struggling on that one.
The Paw Patrol curse, huh?
The curse of the Paw Patrol, 0 home runs since showing up on that.
You know that they've got to be playing like the Paw Patrol music on the organ every time he comes to the plate, right?
I'm going to call my buddy Johnny Benedict the organ tonight, and I am going to make sure that when Aaron Judge shows up, they play Paw Patrol. That is going to be a guarantee.
That's a great idea. Let's do it. Let's get that done, Crawly.
So, as we kind of take a look here,
tail of the tape time. Is it tail of the tape time, Crawly?
It is 100% tail of the tape time. All right, we knew that it was going to be tough on the offense here. The batting average goes to the Yankees. They are hitting 252, tied for 8th in all of baseball. You know who they're tied with?
No.
Orioles.
Oh, wow.
Average 241. The Cubs are 17th in baseball. Slugging, the Yankees can slug. They are second in all of baseball, 439, while the Cubs are 19th at 396. Runners in scoring position, Yankees have that, 14th, 258, while the Cubs are 22nd with a 242 batting average with runners in scoring position. So all the offense stats tilt towards the Yankees. Starting pitching, it's close. Starting pitching ERA, the Cubs best them on that. They are 6th in baseball at the 3.79 ERA. Thanks for adding to that, Jameson and Shota, and even Kyle Hendricks. But the Yankees are 3.92, 9th. The Orioles are 8th in that, so it's just so unbelievable to look at. Reliever ERA, Cubs are 9th at 3.80. The Yankees are 3.89 at 13th. But just keep in mind, the Cubs lost Jorge Lopez, so that's going to be something you watch right there. And so the Cubs have all of the pitching and the defense. They take that 20. They have 20 defensive run saves, 12th in baseball, while the Yankees have 18 defensive run saves, 14th. So the Cubs have all the pitching and fielding stats, and the Yankees have all the hitting stats. So if we take a look at the pitching probables, game one, we have right-hander Javier Assad versus right-hander Luis Gil. All of these, Dustin, 120 starts as the baseball gods intended.
As intended, yep. Mm-hmm.
Anthony Rizzo. Dustin, I don't know if you heard this one. When Javi Baez came to Detroit, the Cubs burned a mound visit so he could get he could acknowledge the crowd. I thought, because I remember that happened to somebody last season when they instituted the pitch clock. I thought they were using common sense on that and not doing that. So, I mean, clearly there's going to be a video for Anthony Rizzo. Clearly the first time he gets up to bat, it is going to be probably the loudest of all the ovations for the returning Cubs, Baez, Bryant, Contreras. Do you think they're going to have to burn a mound visit again for that?
I would hope not. I mean, again, let's just be smart, right? That's stupid.
Unbelievable. Javier Assad takes the ball for the Cubs, 7-4 record with a 3.21 ERA and 25 games started, 106 strikeouts and 126 innings pitched. Assad is 2-1 in his last 3 starts, gave up 1 run in 5 2/3 innings against the Tigers, took the loss in Miami, but pitched deep into the game, gave up 3 runs, 7 innings, so quality start. And he won his last start against the Nationals, giving up 3 runs in 6 innings. So Assad is looking good lately. He's only faced the Yankees once in his career, pitching 3 scoreless innings of relief. None of the Yankees have more than 2 at-bats against Assad. Javier is 3-1 at Wrigley with a 2.30 ERA and 4-1 in day games. So this all lines up good for Javi. Luis Gil is a 26-year-old right-hander in his 3rd season in the big leagues, but this is his 1st season where he's been an everyday starter, part of their rotation. Gil is 12-6 with a 3.39 ERA and 24 games started, 144 strikeouts and 124 2/3 innings pitched. The Yankees put him on the IL on August 21st with the lower back strain. This is his 1st game back. So Dustin, look to see if he's going to be on some kind of pitch count. He wasn't going deep in games in August. Don't know if it was because of the lower back. August 7th, he got the win, pitched 5 shutout innings against the Angels. On August 12th, in a loss against the White Sox, he gave up 4 runs in 4 innings. And in his last start before going on the IL, he gave up 3 runs in 3 innings versus the Guardian. So I'm sure that was probably, why he was pitching shorter and shorter. Gil has never faced the Cubs before, and the only Cubs that have any at-bats against him is Isaac Paredes, who's 1 for 5. Gil features a 4-seam fastball that averages 97 miles per hour, a changeup, and a slider.
All right, game number 2, as you mentioned, another 120 start, and it's lefty Jordan Wicks with his 2nd start after a long layoff.
Yep, Jordan Wicks, and I like the fact that he had that long layoff. He's 2-2 with a 3.82 ERA in 8 games, 7 of those starts with 32 strikeouts and 33 innings pitched. Injuries have been the story of Jordan's season. On April 28th, he went on the IL with the left forearm strain. He was activated on June 7th and he started 1 game, and then 1 week later, he went to the 60-day IL with a right oblique strain. He looked good in his return against Washington on September 1st, giving up 1 run in 5 innings. Jordan has never faced the Yankees, and none of their players have any at-bats against him. The Yankees are going to counter with Clark Schmidt, 28-year-old right-hander, who's 5-3 with a 2.52 ERA in 11 games started, 67 strikeouts in 60 2/3 innings. Like Wicks, injuries have been the story for Schmidt in 2024. On May 30, the Yankees put Schmidt on the 15-day IL with a right lat strain, and then he was moved to the 60-day IL. New York is going to activate him before the game on Saturday. So once again, we may see an innings limit on a Yankee starter, right? His
Yep.
last was on May 26th. He was a tough luck loser against the Padres. He gave up 1 run and 3 hits in 5 innings. Schmidt has faced the Cubs twice, but only has thrown 2.2 innings of relief. Most of the Cubs don't have more than 1 at bat against him, except for Isaac Paredes, who's 4 for 11 against Schmidt. He features a cutter, a sweeper, a sinker, and a curveball. Game 3, right-handed pitcher Jameson.
Woo! This is a nice matchup, Crawly. Nice matchup.
Yep, this is the Hall of Fame game for the Cubs. I know some of you will be watching football. I will be at the Federal Landmark, so we'll see what happens. Jamison Tyone, 9-8 with a 3.66 ERA in 24 games started, 107 strikeouts, and 140 and a third innings pitched. In his last start, JMO pitched 7 shutout innings, gave up no runs, 3 hits, 1 walk, and 3 Ks as he got the no decision. He snapped a streak of allowing at least 4 runs in 4 straight starts since August 9th. But that blown save by Jorge Lopez we talked about in segment 1. JMO's 5-4 at Wrigley, but he's 5-2 in day games. JMO is 1-0 in 2 games started versus his former team with the 2.70 ERA. The only one that really kind of hits him well, Anthony Rizzo.
How about that?
10 for 25. Alex Verdugo, 4 for 19. And Juan Soto's only 1 for 8. Again, small sample size. Garrett Cole is 6 for 3 with a 3.65 ERA and 13 games started with 78 strikeouts and 69 innings pitched. Cole started the season on the 60-day IL with right elbow inflammation. He was activated on June 19th. He's been pitching well in his last few starts. On August 22nd, he pitched 6 shutout innings against the Guardians. On August 27th, he gave up 3 runs on 6 hits in 5 innings against the Nationals. And in his last start against the Rangers on Sunday, he got the win, giving up 1 run in 6 innings. Not good news, Dustin. Cole has owned the Cubs in his career. He has a record of 11-3 in 16 games started, 2.61 ERA. Isaac Paredes is 5 for 21 against Cole. Christian Bethancourt, 2 for 13. Cole features a 4-seam fastball, a curveball, a cutter, and a slider.
All right, the hot and the not. And I look at the hot, I'm surprised to see Nico Hoerner's on the hot list.
Yes, sir. And Dansby Swanson, 12 for 26 with 2 home runs, 7 RBIs. He's hitting 462 in the last week. Nico Hoerner, 9 for his last 24, 2 RBIs with he's hitting 375 in the last week. And Ian Happ, 9 for his last 26 with 7 RBIs. He's hitting 346 in his last week.
All right, Michael Busch remains on the not.
Yeah, when you look at Michael Busch, he is struggling a little bit here. He's on the struggle bus. 4 for his last 19 with only 2 RBIs. He's hitting 211 in the last week. And then Miguel Amaya, 1 for his last 16, .063 in the last week. Ouch.
All right, how about for the Yankees? Who do Cub fans need to look out for?
All right, when we talk about the Yankees, this is a team that's got some hitters on here. It's actually Chaz Chisenholm, 10 for his last 23 with an RBI, hitting 435 in his last week. Juan Soto, we talked about him, 9 for his last 24 with a home run and 3 RBIs, hitting 375. And Gleyber Torres, 9 for his last 24, the former Cub prospect with 4 RBIs, also hitting 375. As far as the not is concerned, you got Anthony Rizzo is 3 for 13. Austin Wells, the catcher, 4 for 18, hitting 222. But how about Aaron Judge, the curse of the Paw Patrol?
Paw Patrol.
3 for his last 25, slashing 120, 214, 116, no home runs, 1 RBI in the last week. Wow.
All right, let's hope that keeps up for Aaron Judge, unless you're bought tickets to go see arguably the best player in baseball right now. All right, prediction time. Crawly, I'll go first this time. I'm going to try to stay positive. I'm going to say they're going to take 2 out of 3, but just don't get swept. Just don't get swept.
I'm going to give it a confident 2 out of 3. I think the Cubs are going to lose the Jamison Tyone Garrett Cole start, but I do think that Jordan Wicks and I do think Javier Assad's been pitching really good. That's the one I'm most confident about. Saturday to me is a coin toss, but I'm just trying to stay positive.
That's a wrap. Don't forget to listen, download, review, subscribe to the Fly the W podcast. Follow on the socials. Of course, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and you can email Crawly and I. That's right, flythew670@gmail.com. And you can watch us by subscribing to the 670 The Score YouTube channel. Crawly, enjoy the games. I'll be paying attention, but the NFL does kick off tonight, my friend. So I am torn. I am torn.
NFL, what's that? Hopefully you can use the multi-TV version. Maybe one day you come over here, we'll watch it on here over at the clubhouse. But I'm going to tell you, I'm going to enjoy this weekend. 3 games at Wrigley Field. The Cubs versus the New York Yankees, 2 of the most storied franchises. We're going to try to cheer the Northsiders to victories. Go Cubs! Hey guys, it's Crawly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. If you want to see more of our videos, be sure to check out our playlist and let us know what you think in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on social media to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Links are in the description. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Go Cubs!